May I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Crypto Night Show. Your host Superman in the house, and have we got an interview for you today? We're very lucky to have CRYPTOGRFX in the house, so I hope you guys enjoy it. He's going to drop a whole ton of alpha bombs that's going to be explosive on the show. It's going to be pretty awesome. We're obviously going to be covering the future of TORUS, Unity, and of course this new concept here, collaborative staking from Aether. So it's going to be pretty neat. We may even find out a few other extra things as well. Don't forget, if you want to ask any questions, get them in the chat there as well. I'm sure that you'll be happy to answer some of those. And of course, yeah, let's go. If you're on X, of course, don't forget to hit the repost button, not just for this channel, but also for other people you're watching. It really helps out a lot. The influencers get the reach out. And if you're not following on YouTube, smash the subscribe button. We're streaming on 3 YouTube channels, the Crypto Night Show, Superman Crypto, Pulse Chain X. So don't forget to smash the subs. YouTube has been growing, so it's a really good sign. We maybe got good things coming for 2026. And if you haven't smashed the follow button on X, hit the follow button as well. So without further ado, let's bring in CRYPTOGRFX. So here we go. Hey, CRYPTOGRFX. Great to have you in the house there. And of course, you're still styling that awesome beard.
Thank you. A little shorter now. I have toned it down a little bit, so it's getting a little nuts there, but still there for now. And for now,
you make ZZ Top proud. So well done.
That's the first time I've heard something like ZZ Top joke.
We got let's go from CRYPTOGRFX in the chat. Woo! We got Keish in the house there. Hey, gang. Hello. Good to see you, Keish. Welcome to the chat there as well. Don't forget, if you guys are new, smash the subscribe button, hit the follow button. We got Connor Cray in the house as well. Very interested. Is that the nerd glasses? Yeah, well, you're going to enjoy this one from CRYPTOGRFX. Going to drop a lot of insights. Very cool. Pulse Chain X in the house. Let's go. We got Orez there. Good to see you, Orez. Big the fires, loving it. And we got Ayala there. TORUS and Unity keep me engaged in crypto despite the crappy market. That's true. Starting with a beard comment, gonna be a banger. That's true. Now, if you want some beard advice, you know who to ask. CRYPTOGRFX in the house. All right. So without further ado, no beard. Without further ado, I kick it off. How's things been going since you launched? I guess let's start with that. Since you started with TORUS and Unity, maybe a bit of history to kick us off.
Yeah. Oh, okay. We got to get the history. So, I mean, I guess before TORUS and Unity, well, how far back? How historical do we want to go here?
You let us know, man. You let us know. You provide the journey, and then we get the insights from it, I guess.
Yeah, you know what? Let's go all the way back, because now that what we'll get to later in the stream is now the direction that we're taking and what we understand about TORUS and how we're going to be marketing. I think it's really important to understand the origin story of how this all came to be. So, for those of you who maybe are just learning who I am, and this is the first stream you're seeing me. I started in 2021 learning about crypto, and it's funny, I remember, I'll be brief in this part, but Mom got me into crypto, believe it or not. She was like, you got to learn. So I started learning eventually after much resistance. And, I always thought Bitcoin was old tech and Ethereum was newer, but I was like, yeah, there's something else coming. And that seemed to be at the time Hex. And life at the time was kind of just presenting me an opportunity to start some kind of entrepreneurial gig. And I was challenged by a friend of, you should create a YouTube channel or TikTok based on some stuff that was going on in my life. And I was like, you know what? I can't stand TikTok, so I'm going to create a YouTube channel. And that YouTube channel led to where we are today. But on that journey, I studied Hex. I wrote a book I wrote papers and articles and made so many videos calculating models and doing all this stuff. In the process, I learned about Hex, and then I learned about Hedron, which was built on top of Hex, and then Icosa, and then later Pulse Chain, PulseX, TitanX, all these different protocols that, were taking what we all saw as what was great from Bitcoin and trying to remap it in a way that was more beneficial for users, more fair, more this, more, and all these different protocols were trying to build and create a more sound version, so to speak. And so I wasn't aware of this at the time. Of where we will go with what this means for TORUS. But eventually, because I was in the TechNext ecosystem primarily, at least focusing my efforts and my my learning, that someone asked me on a stream, hey, if you'd like to see something built, what would you like to see built? And so I made a blurt on that stream and started chasing it. I was like, well, wait, what if I could do that? And that later became what is now TORUS and Unity. And it didn't start as TORUS and Unity at first, but it became very apparent that this thing that I was originally building, wasn't going to work. Having some issues with it. It was going to be stupid expensive. So I literally gave up on it completely. I threw the white paper out to people that I knew were potentially capable of building it. And as soon as I hit the enter button, this flash of lightning happened, and TORUS and Unity essentially presented itself to me as, this is the solution to what you've been building, and this is what you have to build. And I was like, holy smokes. Okay. So I scrambled and deleted everything and then went to work. And about 8 months later, TORUS and Unity were starting to basically be ready to go live. And now I had this protocol in my hands that was, I didn't know it at the time, but it was the culmination of 3 years of intense study coming out in one protocol. And it harnessed all the good pieces of Bitcoin, all the pieces of Hex, all the pieces of Hedron and Icosa, and all the pieces of TitanX that I've been studying for years. And so fast forward to today, they've been live for, TORUS has been live for like 184 days. Unity's been live for around, I think, 145 days now. And man, they've been blowing me away at their performance. When you look at the charts and you're not necessarily understanding what's going on, it's easy to look and say, okay, well, the charts are just down. How's anyone benefiting from that? But when you look at the data, you look at how the users are actually performing, you look at how smooth things have been going, and the overperformance on many statistical fronts, they're performing so much better, especially given the level of adoption that we've had, which has been, fairly low, considering we're in a pretty ridiculous situation, market-wise, sentiment-wise. Like, no one's really looking for new things at the moment. No one's really even paying attention, other than the people that are crazy enough to still be around this time of, the market. So that being said, TORUS and Unity are now going into this evolutionary phase where we have, I was lucky enough to connect with a brother of mine, more of a soul brother than a literal blood brother, but he had this amazing idea while sitting on a couch one day of, hey, what happens if someone could pay the deposit and I just put up the staking and we just split the yield? And my mind was blown, and like 3 months later, here we are, where it's already being built, this idea of collaborative staking. And that leads us to today, where, I mean, that's what everyone's excited about right now. I know me personally, and I know Charles, or as a co-founder of this new Aether front, he's just as excited about the marketing side, which is super deep. But Aether is what the users can get excited about specifically, because that's coming here hopefully in Q1, which the code's pretty much done as a basis now. And now we're expanding out, getting closer to testnet and getting the DApp done. So tons of stuff has happened over the last while, and now we're here with Aether and this whole new marketing approach. So hopefully that wasn't too far into the weeds.
So basically, when you had the genesis of the idea of TORUS and Unity, you had a bit of a flux capacitor moment. You knocked your head on the door, whatever it was at the time. You've also had the market. Obviously, the market is down at the pulse chain at the moment. So obviously that's happening at the moment. But the actual mechanics of the protocols are working very well, as you had hoped and intended them to be. That's kind of where we are at the moment. And of course, now you're coming up with this collaborative staking. And of course, it seems like the code is pretty much done. And you got some marketing program solution that you're going to be entering into. Is that kind of a summary of what you...
Yeah, nice, actually, because that was a big brain dump. So that was a good catch. Yeah, it's now we're at the point where, like you said, Aether is the main focus of the build process. And while we're in between the build of the literal infrastructure, we're also, now working deeply on the marketing infrastructure simultaneously. And that's like the big developments that are going on right now. And I think when people understand what Aether is and how collaborative staking has the ability to compound this protocol's potential, it's really unbelievable to think about philosophically and also technically as well.
Yeah, and I guess underpinning that collaborative staking concept is the fact that TORUS and Unity require you to pay a deposit fee to actually stake now. So that's where that comes into play, right?
Yep.
And so you're talking about collaborative, meaning someone else can pay or you can share it, that kind of thing. Is that where we're heading?
Yeah. So the point is again, and I don't know if I have the DAP here, and I'll show everyone what this really means. But when you come to the DAP and you want to stake, you must put up the TORUS you want to stake, and you must also pay a Titan X or ETH fee if you're on the TORUS side, or a Pulse X or PLSX or Pulse X or PLS fee on the Unity side. And this whole idea of collaborative staking is like, well, what's the issue here? What's the point of friction? Well, I have TORUS, but I don't have the deposits, right? Or I have the deposit and I'm not really sure if I want to go in or not. On the staking side, this is someone that's basically doesn't have the deposit, can say, hey, look, I have the tokens and I want someone to come in and I'll give you a portion. And in fact, the point of this is that for people to be incentivized to do this, they're going to have to offer a better ROI than what the system can give someone by coming in on their own. And so this is going to make the collaborative staking collaborative and simultaneously competitive, which is going to be, I mean, if we get as we start getting more adoption and people start collaborating more and more, fresh capital starts coming in, this becomes unbelievably powerful for a number of reasons. Not just because, people are able to, get more yield and it's better for the users, but from a protocol perspective and for a potential of this protocol. When people are staking now, they have a couple options. They can either bring in fresh capital, they can just not stake, or they can sell some of their TORUS or Unity and use that to pay for the deposit, right?
Okay.
And so if we're looking at that latter piece being the most potentially detrimental to the success and the potential of the protocol, what's actually happening there is people are getting rid of some of their TORUS and they're using that to fund their stake, but they're still bringing in economic energy, which, I mean, it's circular, but it works, right? But instead of having all their tokens staked, they are selling some to stake. So now what this means is if you can get people to not sell, be able to stake those tokens and have economic energy coming in, what you're doing is you're actually producing a scenario where there are more tokens bringing in more economic energy within the system than was previously possible. And this unlocks just an immense amount and simultaneously requires people to, actually be fair, put up offers that are better than what the system can be or can give, or what the most competitive rate is on the market if they want to do that. And I'm very happy to explain, how the math of that is going to roughly work. Because I know there's been a lot of questions in the Telegram about like, well, how's it going to be calculated? How do I know which ratios which? How am I going to select all these things? And I'm happy to give a little bit more of an insight into that. I obviously can't go perfectly into it, but I can tell you the direction and how the skeletal structure is looking at the moment.
Okay, we'll break that down. Now, I just we've got a question. We've got a couple of questions. I just want to get to one of those because it's kind of topical, and that's kind of grey here. It says, why does the staking fee exist in the first place, and what purpose does it serve in the protocol's overall structure and stability?
Thank you, sir. That's a great question. The staking fee exists for many reasons. One of the most primary, though, is that it is a mechanic of fairness and a requirement for everyone to always be contributing to the protocol in some way, and the protocol's success, its scarcity, its valuation, the liquidity depth, and it's kind of like supporting one another in a sense. When you're putting up this fee, it doesn't go directly to you; it goes to the protocol, and the protocol uses those funds to support, by definition, everybody, because when it buys and burns and pushes up the price, that raises the value of the tokens that people are earning in the system and the tokens people are holding and they've staked, right? So on top of that, though, it's also a fairness mechanic because, like Bitcoin, in the way that it's harder and harder to earn the block rewards across time, and it's harder to earn more Bitcoin in the sense of the block rewards are smaller. Unity and TORUS have a similar difficulty mechanic where every single day there's less rewards, but instead of it being like every 4 years, it's every day there's like what we were calling a geometric decay rate, where it's nice and smooth in how it decays to allow the rewards to get smaller and smaller over time. But if you don't have a fee like this, then what happens is someone who has, let's say, 1% of the supply can always just dominate the pool. They can just hog it, always staking, and they're always getting the most rewards. But what this does, in terms of difficulty, is it prevents that very thing. It prevents someone from owning the protocol forever and from dominating, creating a monopoly, and essentially vampiring out of the system. And it's so important for this to exist. But simultaneously, this was a friction point, right? It's like, it's hard to have both, and because you either have to have extra capital or you have to sell, or if you don't want to sell, you're kind of shit out of luck. So, which was really cool though, because this was a friction point, and it's really, to me, this speaks to kind of life in a way. It's like a lot of times friction points can be major opportunities when someone sets their eyes on it from the right angle. And this is what co-founder Mr. Aether Charles was able to come up with, was this new opportunity where now we have this opportunity where people can provide deposit tokens and staking tokens as offers. And that way, the people who are holding the TORUS and Unity don't actually have to sell anymore. They can wait for someone to fulfill the offer on the other side. They're going to split the yield in a way that's fair for both people and that both people agree to before they click the buttons. And when the button is clicked, it is final, set in stone. Doesn't matter what happens on the market after that. It is exactly as everyone agreed to. And then it's all fully autonomous as much as possible. There's no early end staking. It's designed to be as simple and as immutable as possible, to make this fair for everybody and enhance the protocol's design that's already been there from the beginning.
Okay, so in that regard, so that was a good question from Connor. Thanks for that. But with the fee, has that been working the way that you want it to work? Have people been paying that fee to do the staking? I mean, is that something that's been playing out?
Tons of fees have been coming in. Lots of deposits are basically coming in by the day. It's just when you look at, let me see if I can bring this up here. When you look at the stats of, the tokens that are, and you can still see this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So if we look at the staked TORUS, now this is kind of crazy, which the burned TORUS has exceeded not only the liquid supply, but the stake supply, which is kind of crazy. Side note. But we have 3.5 million TORUS staked, and we still have 3.2 million liquid. And this is a lot staked, right?
It is.
Yeah, it's nothing to bat an eye. It's fantastic. And we simultaneously still have 3.28 million that hasn't been staked. And I think that is largely in part of that staking fee. And not everyone has the capital to put in, and not everyone wants to sell, right? Because tax reasons, whatever. There's a number of reasons why anyone could come up with for not wanting to. And Unity has the same thing.
So with your original vision in mind and design, is this close to what you might have expected in terms of this large liquid pool still?
It is. And when I envisioned this protocol, I envisioned it with a level of adoption in mind. And to be quite transparent, the adoption has been less than I anticipated, which is not a bad thing. It just changes the relative use of the system. And now I'm seeing that, okay, when low adoption is happening, this is the scenario that the protocol can come in or step into, essentially, or find itself in. And even despite that, the protocol is operating very, very strongly, even with limited adoption, which makes me really excited to see when adoption actually does occur. Because I really do believe, and I at this point, I know this might sound crazy to some people, but I know it's coming. I just don't know what scale, and because of that, it makes me more excited about the future. Because if it's performing like it is now, if 50% essentially of what's available to be staked or more is being staked currently with these kind of conditions and this level of friction, then I mean, that's kind of the best case scenario in my mind.
I was going to say, if you have a base load use at this level in the market, then that bodes well for the future for sure.
Totally.
The application. If you didn't have it, then you've pretty much got a dead protocol, right? So you can die of death. But other than that, that's pretty positive. So, and you're quite right. I mean, where the market price is at the moment, that liquidity is probably just sitting there as well. It's the other side of things where PulseX is at right now, or ETH as well. All right. So, the staking is a really good number. The burn is phenomenal as well. I mean, look at that burn.
It's insane.
Now I know that your liquidity side, of things has already run its course, right? You've fattened up the liquidity pools with that liquidity from the buy and burn, but you've still got the burn operating. Is it still operating?
Yeah. Well, let me go back to TORUS here for a second. I can touch on that. It's so phase one, the liquidity phase. So like just for people who aren't aware,
Mhm.
the way that the protocol started out was it has essentially like 4 routings of where the economic energy goes that comes in from creation deposits or staking deposits. And it's to a buy and burn, which obviously buys and then deletes the supply, a buy and build contract, which takes the funds that are divvied up to it, and those funds are used to build the liquidity pool up, meaning it just keeps adding to the liquidity, the container, the depth of the market. Some goes to no expectations address, and some goes to buying and burning Titan X if it's TORUS, or Pulse X actually if it's Unity. So when it comes to this phase one, originally the buy and build was receiving 28% of the funds, and the buy and burn was receiving 64%. And around day 150, I believe it was, for TORUS specifically, 140 to 150, somewhere in there. I can't remember exactly which day it was, but the buy and burn and buy and build percentage allocation was changed from the phase one percentages to the phase two percentages, which now the buy and burn receives 84%, the buy and build receives 8%. And the buy and burn still has about $70,000 still in it. The buy and build is virtually empty. It still has about a couple thousand, $2,500 that will eventually go in, and they're cranked up as hot as they can get just to try and get those funds in there. Unity, though, is still in its phase one, and it has $213,000 in the burn because it's getting 64%, but the buy and build still has a handful of $1,000, still about $6,000 in there, which is still great, right? So there's no defined plan for when these are going to switch over. But
What day are we on Unity at the moment?
we are on day 145.
So that's in the ballpark of phase two of the change of incentives.
If it were to go identical to TORUS, that would be correct.
That'd be great. Yeah. All right, very cool. So any just keep a watch out, guys. Keep watch out. Phase two coming. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean it's actually looking pretty damn good from that overview. Now we got one question here, which is related to the third part of the protocol, which is creations. So someone had a question on that, so we might as well sue in that since we're giving us kind of the overview here.
Great.
Ayla says, besides the appeared liquidity pairing, lifting TORUS and Unity, what else would it take for TORUS and Unity to reach profitable creations? So I'll let you answer that one.
Let me just read that out so I can fully understand. So besides the paired liquidity pairing, so just the liquidity pool, lifting TORUS and Unity, what else would it take for TORUS and Unity to reach profitable creations? Well, profitability alone can come sooner than TORUS or Unity reaching their median ratios, where the staking ROI and the creation ROIs are parallel, or they're equal to one another. They're essentially comparative.
I see it's down 67% at the moment on TORUS there, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is on Unity. Yeah, exactly. But if Unity goes up in this case, a handful of X's, technically speaking, creation would be a positive ROI. But I want to preface this where just because something is a positive ROI doesn't necessarily mean it's time to use that action, because the whole point of having creating and staking is to be able to look at, okay, ROI here. Well, how do I'm going to reference this one, and I'm going to check it against staking. Okay, staking's higher. Staking makes the most sense, because this is essentially telling you whatever option is going to give you the most amount of shares, the most earning capacity, right, with a given action at a given time, right? And so if you were to compare $71 in Unity to staking it to creating, you're going to get a tiny amount of, you're going to very, very, very small ROI for depositing $1,300 worth, essentially. And this is what you got to look at. You got to look at these numbers. So,
you're better off at buying off the market, right?
Exactly. At the end of the day, yeah. And I mean, it's funny.
Yeah, you go. Sorry.
I'll just say it's funny because you're like, besides the paired liquidity pairing, like basically the price going up, but that's the only thing that really eventually brings it back into being positive. Because if it stays at this price, the system is also getting more difficult, meaning the rewards per day are shrinking, right? Which means if we stay at the same ratio and people keep staking, the ROI relatively is going to keep shrinking as well. So the price is going to need to come back up to some degree for this creation ROI to even become even a little bit profitable. in general. So I know it's a funny thing because you're like, besides that, but it's literally only to do with that.
So with the ratio, the key driver is the price of Unity going up. But would that make creation actually flip staking? So under what scenario would creating actually flip staking? So just before you answer that, basically at the beginning everyone was creating, and now everyone is staking because the ROIs, and so the creating was kind of creating the tokens into existence, and now everyone's staking because the ROI is good. So back to my question. What would it take for creating to ROI to flip staking URI?
And we're talking price wise here, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yep.
Great. Okay. Just making sure here. So you can see this tab?
Yep.
Great. So if you're looking at the Unity chart, the biggest thing that I want you to understand is this chart's relevant to understand value of the protocol, value of the tokens you're holding, but it's not relevant to understand how the system's performing and how creating and staking relate to one another.
Mm-hmm.
What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to come to the top here where all the different parameters for the chart are, and you're going to need to click the USD PLSX chart. And this is going to give you the Unity ratio relative to PulseX. The ratio is what's specific. USD value is a byproduct of the ratio of PulseX to Unity in this specific liquidity pool. And if Unity, or if the price is going up here, this means Unity is increasing in value in PulseX, which means basically Unity is being taken out of the pool and PulseX is being put into the pool, changing the balance. And that's what also correlates to the ratio and then the price collaterally increasing as well. But for reference, when we're talking about the median ratio here, the starting ratio was right here. And again, this is going up every single day, mind you. Mm-hmm. So in order for us to get back around that ratio, we need to do about probably like an 18 or 19, basically almost 18x. I would say 18, 19x to get to a point where now creation and staking have identical ROIs. And if it goes beyond that, then what you'll see is creation's ROI will begin to exceed the staking ROI. But that's what it's going to take. And this is the chart that we need to track over time, not the USD chart.
Yeah, okay, that's very exciting. And here's the other perspective I look at it is that actually, if you look at the flat price and that ratio, right, which goes back to where? Back about a month, is it?
Yeah, November.
This kind of, for me, is actually the starting market price. Is that a fair comment?
Can you explain? I would love to hear more about that, though. I think I understand, but I want to hear more about that.
So you've got the starting ratio where you're going to have the flipping between the staking and the creating.
Yep.
But you've got all this. This down chart was always expected. So there were people out there going, "Why is it going down, down, down?" But they weren't really understanding what the project was doing. It was creating tokens, and that means creating a supply. And so the price that had to go down to a certain point, probably maybe even overshoot, and then it would go back to what we might find as some sort of equilibrium, which looks like what we've got at the moment, and that is in the down. This is the ratio, right? It's talking about ratio, not the pulse price or PulseX price. And so for me, this last month is kind of the starting price for the protocol. Is that a fair comment? I know there's still supply coming out. Is there still a reasonable amount of supply? I don't know how much is still coming out, but from original creations, but that is that there for me just looks like the starting price of this protocol as a mature protocol.
I think that's a pretty fair assessment. I mean, like, this is like, there's no telling that it can't go a little bit lower. You know, if sentiment changes, the market changes, people, you know, change their hearts on how they feel about this protocol in general. But I mean, this feels like what you're implying about being more of a fair price. Yeah,
I'm thinking more of a base case as opposed to like a down case. So as a base case, it's kind of got a starting price vibe to me for the protocol. Now that you've got a lot of the stuff out, now you've got the staking and deposit mechanics, and then of course you've got a bit of a roadmap with the collaborative staking to sort of what do you call it, electrify that process, let's say. Yeah, it's so that's kind of why I see this chart. So it's actually, you know, a pretty good entry, and you got me excited when you went it back up to the break even between creating and staking as an 18x. So I thought that's kind of stars in your eyes potential. Well, obviously not financial price, but yeah.
And I got to add in here real quick too, is that's an 18x if you're not staking. Because if you're staking and you get a 200% ROI during that time, then you've got to multiply that by 3. And 3 times 18, what's the math on that?
Yeah, let's say 55 or something. 50,
there you go.
Yeah.
And that's just to the median ratio. That doesn't also include if Pulse X starts doing anything at all. Because then we have to multiply Pulse X's move by the staking ROI, by the gains that it just gets absolutely nuts, right? So I mean, like that's some moon math stuff right there.
Moon math right there, yeah. Maybe we should have talked the show like that. How to get,
People love that stuff.
Get a couple 100x.
It's true. Yeah. People do love that stuff.
All right, so that's some pretty exciting upside. That's what I'm saying. This for me, it kind of feels, excluding like there's a base case we're arguing that kind of looks like a starting price for this protocol at a maturity phase. That being said, this is Unity and it's still not gone to phase 2 of the buy and burn, which is that's a positive to the upside, So pretty exciting. So how does the TORUS chart look then compared to this? Has it got the same, essentially the same kind of shape? Because that kind of validates this argument, I think, for the base case. But
they're similar, but you'll see TORUS here. So this is the USD price. Now, mind you, this is again same situation. What we need to look at is the ratio, because this tells us the actual story here. But you can see similar.
Yeah, similar.
Right? We've kind of created a little bit of a floor here. I don't know what we're going to do after this. Who knows, right?
But the bottom that's right at the bottom. One would argue the range, but it's still down on the downside. So this is moving sort of base case negative. What would that be? What would be driving that right now? That ratio. People just going back into Ethereum, they're doing the rotation there. Or what do you think might be driving that a little bit?
Well, there's a few things. So one is there's been some bigger sells happening lately, and I think some people are just exiting into Titanx and into ETH, like you said. But simultaneously, if you go back and you look at some of the buys that have been happening over the while, there's a few players that are clearly paying attention and are not small. They're not throwing $100 in at a time. They're throwing in 10 or 11 or $1,200 purchases over the last number of days. And so, while this has been a period where people have been, possibly just even staking and some are leaving, others are accumulating significant positions. And so you wouldn't know it by this chart here, but this is continuously happening. If you go and you look in here, and I'll let you guys go do it, it's pretty evident that people are accumulating. So I think those who understand are preparing, and those who have, different needs at the moment or don't really see the thing, don't really see the vision, whatever their reasons are, they're choosing their moves now, and we're back here accordingly.
Yeah. Okay. Now we've got a few questions. I think we might pause just to ask a few questions. So we've kind of covered the charts a bit. We've covered the creating, the staking, the flipping between ROIs. We've talked about the buy and burn, which is pretty impressive. The staking's impressive, and we've got this liquid supply. Obviously, we've got staking deposits coming out with the collaborative staking. We'll come back to that because I think that's kind of the future part. But let's answer a few of these questions maybe that we've just got in the chat there. So if you guys got any more questions, get them in there. And let's see where we're starting from here. So I think we've got... let's go down there from that one. I think we answered that one. Unity says the staking fee is what fuels the flywheel. The daily, every 10 minutes buy and burn, it fuels the buy and build, and it fuels the burn of PulseX, the underlying token of Unity. So it's just an affirmation there.
Exactly.
Keish says, I'm making TORUS single-sided LPs to convert into Titanx for staking fee.
Beautiful.
Yeah, okay. And we've got Pulse Beta now, so it's been a while, Pulse Beta. Good to see you. Only problem I have now is I have to sell half to get enough money to be able to stake now. Selling keeps prices down. If prices are up, more people chase green candles. There's a few ideas in them. Unity says longevity play, and this is still the accumulation phase. And I think the charts, like you said, point that out, that I feel like it's kind of the starting price and also accumulation phase. Later, you are going to wish the cheaper prices stuck around longer. With the wink there. Oh, we just did some moon math. It was pretty attractive. We got Ayala says, you mentioned something about TORUS on ZK EVM on a post a while back. Can you elaborate what that means? There's a kind of a specialty question there.
Yeah, really, I think that was to do with the paper, and someone was talking about, in our research paper that we've made for both TORUS and Unity that we're taking to the pros and academics and trying to really have these protocols assessed on that level. We mentioned that specifically with the high frequency transactions that may come from something like Aether, a way to scale that type of platform, because Aether and collaborative staking are a part of the same thing, but Aether is not collaborative staking, so to speak. Aether is like the hub, the platform where services can stem from for both of these protocols,
Okay.
you know, but
Yep.
collaborative staking is the first one. So the reason I'm saying this is because whether it's for this or for future services that can be facilitated on this platform, if there's high frequency use, one of the ways that we can offload some of the transactions is something like ZK EVM or ZK zero knowledge rollups essentially and transactions, which is good for anonymity and it's good for scaling and helps the gas usage or the block usage on Ethereum itself. So we're not clogging things up if this were to ever become some sort of really used protocol, which we're really going for. So it's not that it's in the cards per se. It's just, we know it's there. It's on the table. We have a number of reasons why it's a good idea. And if it ever gets to the point where it's time, then, we'll begin to look into that very seriously and actually looking into implementing it.
Okay, great. Ayla's got another question here. Does the staking fee get less expensive when TORUS or Unity price is higher or lower?
So great question. The staking fee gets less expensive in terms of the USD value when relative to, like, you have a staking fee and you have the stake tokens, right? As the stake tokens become more valuable, the staking fee is a smaller percentage of the value of what you're staking. So, and this is for many reasons. One of the main reasons is so that at a certain point, the value flowing out of the protocol is actually able to be handled by the economic energy that the protocol holds in reserves at any time. So that basically meaning that the protocol is able to say, like, no, we're good. I can support here, right? And obviously it has its limits, and there's only so much of a run. There's a 180-day runway that these protocols have before they only have like 16% left of the funds they had from a given day. But still, and that's assuming no one deposits. So there's a lot to it, but essentially, to make it simple, staking fee gets more expensive relative to the stake size as the price goes down, less expensive as it goes up. But one last thing I'll mention here is that in token quantities, the token quantities are always set, right? So it's like on day today, 145 of Unity, there's going to be a fixed number of PulseX relative, or that you are required to deposit relative to a fixed amount of Unity, right? Doesn't matter what the two prices of those tokens are, but it's those amounts. And if Unity just happens to be more expensive, then it will make it seem like the deposit's less, right? Because the token prices themselves are changing, which causes that discrepancy.
Okay. I got Unity says here the fee cost is based on the ratio. The higher in the ratio unit to PulseX, meaning overbought, the fee will be less. Pulsevator says TORUS is down because it's the end of the cycle. People selling TORUS into Titanx to restake.
Yep.
Okay. Yella there, TORUS and Unity is organically rooted itself in a really good protocol. Nice.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Sang Crypto, for reposting the stream. And Nicholas says, I feel like Unity gives people the opportunity to create and crystallize a positive habit of compounding ROI, which will build big positions over time. I love using my time dividends to pay the fees from Internet Money. I guess talking about there.
Nice one.
Now, one thing about that is that, it is an accumulation phase. I think that's pretty solid. Charts kind of suggesting that, particularly for Unity. It's probably going to get pretty exciting. Like, say, some of the big players might start market making the charts as well. We got Ela in house there. What is the point of the fractal?
Great question. It's super simple. Basically, the fractal is kind of like a sub time vault for the buy and burn, which just makes sure that every 110 days, there are some funds available in the protocol. It's essentially what it is. It's just like a quarter of the funds that are routed to the buy and burn just get saved for day 110, which is like day 110 rainy day. Then it gets re-injected all into the buy and burn. And then it's not like a one-shot deal. Then the buy and burn just operates at normal, but it's designed to make sure the protocol always has funds available for the buy and burn. And it's never stuck without anything.
Yeah, I think it's worked pretty well. Keishan says, love the chat. I appreciate that. And what else there? Where do you see TORUS and Unity in a few years? Well, we're going to talk about that's probably a good time to lead into Aether and collaborative staking. So let's kick into that, and then we might extend into this maybe possibly longer vision question here.
Yeah, great. Let me bring up I think it's a good time for the white paper right up here. Let's do that then. So I'm not going to read from this because we've already kind of gone over it, and we don't really need to go over this whole
thing. Maybe
thing.
just pull out a few highlights there.
Yeah. Basically, the whole point of this, like we were talking about before, and I encourage everyone to go to docs.torus.win or the Unity white paper as well, which is both on the torus.win or unity.win, and just check out this collaborative staking page in the docs. You can read it and get a rough idea. But this stream is probably going to have a lot more information than what you're going to find in the docs because we haven't updated this based on progress made so far. But collaborative staking is a very, very powerful model because typically when you or I are looking at something, it's based on especially in this space, and maybe not you and I, but on a general basis, people look at if I need to get before someone else does. And it's a very zero sum mentality, even if it's not apparent. It's like if I win, naturally someone else is going to lose because I'm taking advantage of the opportunity that only came because people came in after me. Right. And so collaborative staking flips this mentality a little bit where instead of it being I get and you don't, it's I get because you get and you get, I get more and you get more than we both could have had on our own by not collaborating. And it's taking this whole economic model, which is the management of scarcity, and kind of injecting this idea of abundance into it, where like there's not so many limitations as we think there is. There's when we work together, we can do a whole lot more. And the byproduct of working together is less tokens sold, right? So price being higher, meaning the value of everyone's tokens are higher, meaning the value of the system's rewards are higher, meaning the system is more inviting to more people. And the more tokens that are staked, that also means more economic energy to come in across time, which also means more support for the price, raising the system up. And it's a feedback loop. And
can we pause on that just a moment?
Yes.
I've been talking about this for some time in the last 2 months about we need projects that are mature. We've got plenty of pump and dumpers and meme coins and everything else. We actually need investable projects. And that's exactly what you're creating here, right? That what you've created, what you're expanding into, it is this sort of maturity type of investment where people not only can it be a sustainable ecosystem, but actually you're trying to get this collaboration is actually going even a step further. And I'm going to ask you about the mechanism about that, but continue on with what you were saying.
Yeah, well, you nailed it. This is the point of it's allowing the system to scale and mature. I mean, the whole system itself was designed for maturity. It wasn't designed to be a pump and dump. It was designed to be balanced. Like, we're realizing lately, and when I say we, I'm going to refer to my co-founder who's come on for collaborative staking, is his idea to do this collaborative staking. That's Aether Charles, and so I'm incredibly thankful for him and all that. Now we get to work together, but it's him who created the idea here, not myself. So I can't take credit. But yeah, like you said, this is all in the service of creating something that has balance and is able to be mature and scale and grow as a monetary asset should. It's not designed to be a protocol. It's really, truly designed to be something that's a monetary system, which has balance points and flow. And it's always able to naturally find that balance whenever the system gets overheated or goes into conservation of energy mode. It always wants to return to a median, and that median point allows for fairness, opportunity, stability, product, all these different aspects of monetary systems that are really, are part of like the ultimate dream of what a monetary system could be.
It's just back on that theme is that I've said I'd love to see a good half a dozen investable projects on Pulse Chain that are mature, that are having some of the synergies and benefits that you're talking about. With actually, if this is actually performing fairly well, people can see that, then it's just naturally capital and new people are going to flow into it. It's not some downhill thing that has no, it's just treachery is down. It's actually got the ability to, move around a straight line, perhaps potentially up and to the right potentially. It doesn't have to be a steep angle, but it just is going that way, and maybe it oscillates around that, over time. So I think that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it takes adoption for that future to be realized, because a system like this, when it gets supercharged with adoption means economic energy, which means it can really reinforce its own mechanics and its own how the system develops. And the more powerful it gets, the more charged it gets with economic energy and users participating, the more real that future becomes. And then the more sustainable this whole thing comes. And just to go back to where we were in the very beginning of the stream, it's like, this is why I'm so excited about the future. And this one we're talking about right now is because it's performing the way it is with very little participation overall. The communities are tiny in comparison to other communities and protocols, sub-pulse chain and within Ethereum as well. And yet we're still here, which makes me just unbelievably excited to see what happens when these systems start to get some recognition, when they get adoption, and when they start to fully mature into the monetary assets they're designed to be.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely in that class of, I would say we've got the ones that are there, and there's only a couple in my mind. And then I think you're just underneath there, and you may end up switching into there with this collaborative staking, right? It's kind of really, really nice to see. And we want to see more get into that sort of next category down. Because at the bottom, you got the ROIs and the pump and dumper ones, the ones that just are just crazy. And, you got the P-dies down there somewhere as well, probably. But it is that sort of difference between that maturity, and I think that's pretty exciting. Now, I don't know, was there other stuff you're going to talk about with the white paper here? Because I want to ask you a question about the collaborative staking.
The white paper was just to have something on screen so people know we're kind of talking about so much. But
so let me ask you then the mechanism upon which this will be working with collaborative staking, because there may be Joe over there. I don't know Joe, but Joe wants to pay the deposit or something like that. So how does that kind of work? This collaborative staking, basically.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be as precise as I can while riding the line of being vague, so I don't be overly specific in case something changes.
Sure.
Just as a preface here. But the mechanism itself is going to work where someone with TORUS or Unity staking tokens can create an offer. That if it's, let's say you decide you want to create an offer, what you're going to do is you're going to be able to come to the DApp and you're going to say, okay, I've got 10,000 TORUS, got 10,000 Unity.
This is inside Aether or inside Unity and TORUS, this access?
I'll say there will probably be something that will lead you from TORUS and Unity to Aether.
Okay, cool.
As an option, something to let you know that this exists.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just go to Aether though. You're on Aether now, just to make it nice and easy.
Easy, yeah.
So you're on Aether. You're like, okay, I'm gonna create a staking offer. Well, what that means is you're gonna put up your tokens to be staked, and you're gonna offer someone who's gonna put up the required number of, say, PulseX or Pulse in this case, if it's Unity, required to get those tokens staked. Now, that can be one or more people. Up to right now, we're looking at around 10. It might change a little bit, but there's going to be multi-party capacity for the protocol. There's going to be thresholds, and it's going to be sophisticated enough where it will be very efficient. Efficiency is the name of the game for this. But let's just say you put your staking tokens up. What you're going to basically decide is you don't need to decide the length, because the length is automatically 88 days. There's no selecting it. There's no early end stake. So you don't have to worry about those parameters. You just select the amount of tokens that you want. And then you can essentially, there's going to be a couple of ways to do it. Potentially, you'll be able to just select, okay, 10% greater than the market rate, 20% greater than the market rate, or even match the current best rate on the market, which means if, let's say, we were to go back to Unity here, and I'll share my screen one more time. Let's say, okay, 216% is what the market rate is. That means, okay, if I split my yield, I'm going to offer 225% or 245% to the person who's going to deposit instead of 215%. And this is going to, once you've selected a parameter like this, on the back end, a bunch of magic's essentially going to happen. I say magic because it's all sophisticated math, as you know, but it's essentially going to say, okay, if you're giving up this percentage, because it can define in advance based on the stake tokens, it can see how many estimated tokens are going to be, right, from that stake. And it can say, okay, if you're going to give this much to this person, this means now your ROI is going to be reduced to this, right? Or this is what your ROI is going to be from the total here. And this is going to allow people to essentially just focus on the ROIs, and on the back end, it's going to scale the ratio of yield. So that way it's always going to be, exactly as the ROIs are showing, and it'll scale properly in the back end. And on the, as a basis for all this, when you go on the DApp, so Aether, the minimum that you can set the ratio to or the yield to is like the same. Basically, if it's 215%, you can't make it go, I'm going to get 220%, they're going to get 210%. The minimum is whatever the current market rate is to be balanced, whether that's 50-50, 60-40, 30-70, so on, based on whatever the value of the deposit is to the stake tokens. That's always automatically going to be calibrated within the system, kind of like almost like a time-weighted average price, like a time-weighted average ratio almost in USD. But again, to come back to the simple, what's going to happen, you show up with stake tokens, you say 10% better than market rate, 20% better than market rate, match if there's a really good, a competitive offer, someone's got like 50% better, you can even click to match that. Then boom, it's going to show you all the parameters, all the data you need. You're going to click confirm, and then it's going to go on the marketplace, and someone can either completely fill the deposit, partially fill it within a certain minimum, and then there's a few other parameters that we won't get into right now because get lost in the specifics, but that's the overarching pathway.
Is this a subgroup of stakers that this is useful for, those people that don't really have any extra capital and therefore want someone to pay?
This is not only them, but it's also for people that were previously needing to sell.
Yeah.
Or wanting to sell and selling, so that they don't have to sell and they can stake more of their tokens and bring more economic energy into the system simultaneously without selling.
When someone pays, so when they accept one or more people, up to 10 people, to pay the deposit, and they share the ROI, they don't get any instant remuneration from that deposit? They're just accepting someone else to pay the deposit. Is that what's happening?
Yeah. So if I'm understanding your question correctly, it's like no one gets paid up front, right? It's all in the back.
The staker doesn't get paid up front by accepting these depositors. It's just about them paying the deposit and getting a share of the yield, right? Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
So the deposit must be fairly decent then for that for this to be required. Is that the deposit actually fairly decent at this current prices? Because it gets proportionally gets cheaper as the price goes up.
Yeah. Well, for example, just based on where Unity is right now, like if you want to stake 891 tokens, it costs you $66 to stake $71 in Unity.
Right.
Right. It's getting close to 1-to-1.
Okay.
So, and one of the cool things about this too is when you do the math, because anyone can go and they can do the math on this and they can figure all the ratios. It's basically just stake tokens divided by the total value of the stake and the deposit in USD, and you're going to get a ratio. And then you can start doing all this stuff to figure out and see, as you increase favorability, all the different moving parts. You can learn all this stuff, but what happens is if you scale, like if you look at the math right now, it's going to suggest that people that are creating staking offers are going to take a little bit of a hit to get their tokens staked, but they're able to get their tokens staked in favor of bringing in economic energy, getting people to actually, bring in new tokens. They get yield, which they weren't getting before. Everyone wins. Now, The thing is, though, is that these are going to be some of the worst conditions that we're going to see Aether mathematically represent. As the price goes up, this whole system scales so much more easily, because when you're trying to split, like remember, the deposit fee is far more stable than over the last while than the staking value, as we've seen. It's gone down tremendously. It's come up, versus PulseX has been a little more static, right? And Unity has gone down around it, which means that this is why the values have been almost 1-to-1 at this point, right? But what happens is, as the value of Unity goes up against PulseX, now the rewards are a larger total USD value, but the PulseX value, the deposit value, hasn't changed. And so what happens is now it takes less of the staker's portion that they would get to give a higher ROI to the depositor. And so the more successful that this platform makes TORUS and Unity, it just opens up unbelievable feedback loops where now this collaborative staking could actually rival creation itself and actually be competitive with it, meaning This is really crazy that if this is competitive with creation, meaning people can make staking offers for depositors that are better than the creation option at any given time, this means that we're in a crazy situation where the supply is being decentralized as widely as possible, and there's no extra created tokens on top of what the Unity pool or TORUS pool are distributing.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Can we go back to the liquid amount?
Yeah.
Because I mean, essentially, you are dealing with that liquid supply, because the stakers are obviously staking past the initial period, so they seem like good citizens. And then that's just a bit of humor. But you got the liquid side, so this is going to help address the supply, right? And that's all self-fulfilling, so all positive cycle to the upside if that does occur. I think, particularly, getting maybe people that might have sold now. You've got people paying deposits, sharing the yield, and just rotate, rinse and repeating them. It seems to me with the Ether collaborative staking, you also got the option. I don't know what incentive mechanism you might use, but you've also got the option of doing, if you're going to do collaborative deposit and staking, then you could do a collaborative buying off the market and staking as well, and therefore you could really another aspect of fuel on the fire of this. And I just don't know if you had some sort of incentivization on that. That could work quite nicely, like almost like a pack, working as a pack there.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I think that's an extension of this collaborative approach, because you don't just have to have deposit; you can actually go market buying and go into the system as well. And so you got two mechanisms getting a supply off. Yeah, I just don't know what apart from buying and then going back into because you say, oh, we're going to go buy this together. You need some sort of tiered system to reward that, which it's not obvious in the system at the moment, but maybe something that could be added into that next step. Is my guess. Because if people are already collaborating on there and it's working nicely, then why not get collaborative market buyers as well? But you just need some sort of incentive system for that. So I don't know what that would be, but
I'm gonna chew on that. I'll chew on that. I know that we have some ideas to simplify some of the friction points that still do exist in the protocols from a user perspective, and I'd be very curious to see when those finally roll out. Is there a need for something like that? Because it's an interesting idea. I'm gonna ponder on it more. Thanks.
Do you have like, you've got liquidity pools? Does the system itself has liquidity pools running out, right? Because of all the LP building that you did. That all those LP, it just keeps accumulating right inside the pool. Right, yep. So it's just becoming a bigger part of the system, taking over the system a little bit by a little bit. But that's all locked in. Yeah, okay. Because I was just thinking, that if it was on a V3, you'd be able to scrape and put it as part of a collaborative market buying incentive. So I was just thinking, there's alternative incentives you can do, but that would be a natural extension, and actually pretty big one, I think, actually. So yeah, interesting. Yeah, food for thought anyway.
Definitely. Thanks for that.
Yeah, okay, that's great. It makes you even more bullish for the base plus case that we moved on with the chart there. So do we have a kind of so that's going to be on a separate platform. That platform, Ether, is going to have probably some other products and services. Is that for other project teams? Is that for their own ecosystem on Ether? Because is yours kind of a collaboration? Is that what's going on here? And you're just like the first product launch on their platform?
I mean, for right now, what I can say, it's not. I don't need to give a political response. This is core infrastructure, so it wouldn't be from outsourcing. If it was to be another protocol that brought somebody in or another team in, it would be because they were completely in alignment to the degree that we would essentially be merging to some degree, which is what Aether, Charles, and I decided to do. We're now a team, and everything we build in the future is from the two of us. And so that it would be that kind of thing that would happen for an outside, like someone else, to bring a platform on. It would have to be like that person is now becoming the part of the team, and so now it's one unit putting this thing out.
This is real frontier stuff, and I think the possibilities with the collaboration is just flipping a lot of DeFi on its head as well in terms of investor behavior. You guys could do a lot with this, like I think a lot. And if this starts, just getting good early signs with the use, which I think it will do, man, I think there's a number of products you could roll off this, and you'd have people working together, maybe not even know each other, just because of incentives, and that's huge, really huge. And this is quite a game changer. I think people should be talking about this much further afield, because at the moment you got everyone, like you say, it's a zero-sum game. People are trying to go, you lose, I win, you lose, I win. And we're always going to have that, and that's all a big part of crypto. But we actually need investable parts, and the more that Pulse Chain example has, or even any other chain, but Pulse Chain in particular, the more investable products that we have, then we've got maybe, let's say, 20% of the market. You can go, hey, you can go into here. There's mature. You know where it's going to go. You know what people are doing, and if you want to go speculate, go off to everything else as usual. Yeah, I think that's pretty exciting. All right, so we got some more questions though. I think we got one or two more.
And can I add one thing to the Aether conversation as well? Be brief with this, but it's really important. People will be able to. The way we're trying to design this is so that people can market themselves. So people can literally go on X, make YouTube videos. Right? You're a content creator. You could say, "Hey, I just made a TORUS stake. Go collaborate with me so we can both win." And it's a way of basically creating a meta social layer, a meta social marketplace, so to speak, where people can advertise for themselves. They can advertise for collaboration. It's not just reliant on people that know from within the DApp and they know how to go to the DApp already. It's a way for people to help market not only the protocols but themselves, right? It's again, collaboration with the protocol and them individually, and then also collaboration with themselves and another person to both utilize the protocol to win, which the other person may never have found out had this not existed and this opportunity not been there in the first place. So really important pieces.
All right, so
this whole marketing level.
You've got two big heavyweight use cases there. Let's come back to that second one, marketing, in a minute, but we'll answer a few of these questions because that's a big one, and I want to talk about that. So let's see, we got Ayla says, who pays the gas fee when the Gwei is 50? Not sure what they're talking about there. You're talking about
I see what you're saying. Yeah, well, if you're starting the contract, you're going to be paying for. We'll have more details on the gas. I don't want to talk too much about gas because those are all semantics, and it is what it is at the point of someone's got to pay for it. So we'll just define who someone is later. So it's fair.
We got Keisha now. If my offer isn't filled, I can just readjust the ROI to get people excited.
Exactly. Update your ROI.
Ayla says, will both sides be able to submit proposals? Example, I have PulseX and I want a certain share of the ROI, so someone with Unity can fill it.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It's going to be both sides. So that way it creates a competitive nature where if the staker side is not giving enough and the depositor side is wanting more, the depositors can literally make their own offers and say, hey, actually, I think this is fair. And then people can go that way. And then the market balances itself naturally and has equilibrium with what is fair at any given moment for ROI splits between collaborators.
I'm not, like you got, this might be getting a bit too sidetracked, but you got things like Reddit, which is a very left-wing site, but you got Reddit. We don't really have a social platform as far as I know. Like we have a couple, one or two minor ones, but we don't everything really particularly flourishing on the social front and Pulse Chain, in particular, or Titanx even. But this is kind of a little bit parallel potentially to your collaborative staking. So an interesting area of potentiality there, especially if it blew up, because then you've got high engagement, and that'd be interesting. And then you can scale a lot of other products like we were just talking about earlier on there. Could be interesting. Alice says, any thoughts about being able to borrow against your TORUS on Ouroboros to pay for staking fees if price drops below a certain threshold and the stake is liquidated or burned?
What are my thoughts on that? I would love that, and I will release more details when I can on if or when that is happening.
Yeah, TORUS, Ouroboros, that was kind of in the pipeline some months back, wasn't it? About Ouroboros.
Yeah, there's just the way stuff works in building and how it is. It just takes a while for things to finally start to work. And Shadowy's very busy with all the stuff that he or she has, and we'll get there when we get there.
Keith says, I am into share with benevolent folks. Yeah. Well, that could become a bigger part of the market. Who knows? Let's see. When people with PulseX could lend their PulseX for a fee up front and be guaranteed their initial back after stake ends or gets liquidated. Now you get into the lending side of things a little bit.
Yeah, it gets a little bit weird with like. Here's the thing with the ROI. The ROI is not saying like you're gonna get. It's basically saying like the 100% ROI includes you're gonna get the value in the deposit principal that you put up, and on top of that, you're getting 100% ROI. The lending would. I mean, maybe there's. I don't want to write off anything because you never know.
Yeah, you're getting into lending, and then you get into perpetuals as well.
And then you get into liquidations potentially. It gets super messy with lending, and I mean, maybe one day we'll see. I don't know.
The positive is that you can move prices up and you can get a lot of supply off the market. The negative is that you have the negative of liquidations, and that leaves a sour place for some people.
Yeah.
A lot of people do get liquidated in perpetuals. Let the staker pay the fee. And what's the side? I mean, for transaction fee, says Kish.
Yep.
All right, so let's get into this marketing quickly. We'll probably spend 5 minutes on that, and then I think we can probably wrap up the show.
Great.
Because we're coming up to now in 10 minutes, which is good solid coverage. So you've obviously got the collaborative staking. This marketing thing, let's explore that. I think that's exciting. So what do you got for us there?
Yeah, and honestly, like this is probably the most important part of this whole conversation is around this whole marketing direction. Like the protocol is great. It's amazing. I'm super happy with it. It's working well. Our community is amazing. But if people don't understand what this thing is, if we don't understand what it is, then we can't make someone understand why they should be a part of it. Because people go where they're treated best, right? Money goes where it's treated best. And what Charles and I have been doing over the last number of months is asking, thank God for him. He keeps asking me because, again, when I was on the show previously, it was, what is it? And then I would respond with, here's what it does, right? I didn't have an answer to what it is. And through the last number of months of what is it? What is it? What is it? What is it? Just hammering on it. Finally, it began to become clear that this was a solution to some of the flaws that are inherent with BTC. And the more we dug deeper, we used AI, we did a ton of research, we did modeling, we did so much work. We began to realize that the solution that TORUS and Unity propose as a framework for a monetary system is so much deeper than just a crypto project.
Mm-hmm.
And we have now like an 80-page academic level paper with a ton of references, research, math proofs, history, everything outlining how these systems are essentially the evolution of what everything in this space has been trying to do. And I want to read a little bit of this post here. I don't read the whole thing, but just to give you guys an idea of where we're going. And also, to be on the lookout for this academic paper anyone can go and read and see and share. And this is for the professional world, the institutional world, the academic world to have it challenged. Because if we can go this route and get any sort of validation or verification from that level of person, then that puts TORUS and Unity into a category of tokens and protocols that very few have ever reached, in terms of credibility. And that's the goal here with this. And so let me read this quickly here, and then I'll talk momentarily about kind of what we're working on and what we're really trying to do here. So this is the post. It's time we remind ourselves in this DeFi and crypto space what we are really doing here, as we have seemingly lost track of our why. Hijacked by short-term gains and fast money, which could easily be argued as a necessity due to our garbage fiat system, as it literally forces people to look for ways to maintain their value instead of having it transferred, inflated, and taxed away. DeFi exists because of Satoshi's vision of a decentralized currency that was immune to government intervention, which produced BTC. Everything that came afterwards was an attempt to improve upon the very essence of what BTC was until people started getting greedy. From privacy coins to shitcoins to altcoins, the majority of fungible tokens have been attempting, either directly or in a roundabout way, to build something superior to the original or mimicking BTC's properties in some way. So what is BTC? It was designed to be an asset that solved many of gold's inherent issues as being a digitally hardened monetary asset. It offered many solutions that gold was plagued with. BTC offers trustless and verifiable proofs of ownership and transactions, verifiable scarcity and hardness, which is resistance to inflation or high stock to flow ratio, and requires work in the form of energy to mine into existence, similar to gold. But BTC is slow. BTC is a non-productive asset like gold, and to use it to earn yield requires undermining the very nature of its existence, which introduces counterparty risk and middlemen. BTC also has advantages based on knowledge, capital, and equipment to acquiring BTC before the market gets it, just like gold. BTC is incredible, and simultaneously, BTC is not perfect. This entire space is derived from the search for a monetary asset that is immune to government intervention, has digitally immutable scarcity, hardness, and has three properties of money: unit of account, medium of exchange, and store of value. But what if it were possible for a fourth property of money to be introduced? Productivity. What if a decentralized system was designed to have the immutable scarcity of BTC and its beneficial properties, but introduced productivity and fairness as foundational principles built into its immutable code, reducing the barriers of entry to near zero? And what if a secondary layer was also coming that allowed collaboration to amplify its potential? How would an asset like this fundamentally change our entire economic system in our society? I'd be curious to hear your thoughts and the implications of these questions. And then I go on to talk about how TORUS and Unity kind of are those. But this whole direction that we're going is similar to that of Apple. Apple didn't compete with IBM. It didn't compete with Microsoft. It didn't compete with anyone else. It said, we see a problem happening and we're going to try and solve it. We're going to go our own direction. And we're trying to do that. We're not competing with anyone. We're not competing with Pulse Chain. We're not competing with Hex. We're not competing with Richard Hart, PTGC, Titan X, Jake, anyone. We don't care about that. The game we're now trying to play is the system is fundamentally flawed monetarily. It has been since 1913, and it has been repeatedly throughout history. It's time that we come back and try and put our heads together. And if TORUS and Unity are not the thing, we can show you academically from all the work that we've been doing that they just might get us an inch closer. And if it gets us an inch closer, we should probably take it seriously, because we just might be able to create a monetary system that gets us out of the shitstorm we're in right now. And I don't know about you or anyone else watching this, but I'm tired of it. And I'm tired of seeing people around me crumble, get crippled, get impoverished, have hard lives because the money system is broken. So this whole direction is about speaking to that, and that it's time. It's time to move past this, and whether it takes us 1 year, 10 years, or 100 years, that we really start trying to go there and remember what all this is truly about. And everything that we produce, from videos to papers to books, any kind of content now, is going to be focused in this direction, because it's just time.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. I just want to add to that, so you guys are kind of pushing the frontier of tokenomics, and the used to be Wall Street used to be the place where that all happened, but now it's really in DeFi and tokenomics and cryptographics. You're really on the front edge of this, and I think you have a phrase about abundance, something about abundance, and I kind of think it kind of encapsulates that, and building on your productivity, I guess, principle that you're trying to build features and products around. It's pretty exciting. I really enjoyed this conversation. You've got a couple of things that are just super at the frontier, super needed in the crypto and Pulse chain. So pretty exciting stuff for sure. Let's see if we've got any final comments just to wrap up the show. And I was actually going to quickly, before you leave, just I'm just on the wrong screen here, but let me jump over here. We've just got a couple more comments and we'll zone out of there. And I'm just going to check out the Pruvec sacrifice, because I know that's just about finished in about half an hour or something. Let's see. We got Ayala there's finishing off with all sorts of possible offerings. With the collaborative staking and the marketing. The collaborative marketing, there's lots of things there. Potentially large scale items, I think. So it's going to be fun to see what you guys build out after the deposit fee one there. Very cool. Do you have any final comments to make about overall about Unity, TORUS, and collaborative staking?
Oh man, I mean, the only thing I have to add is that, if you see what we're trying to do here, and you see that, what we're doing is valid, and you want to help contribute to what we're doing, the only thing we ever ask of anyone is to either read what we're doing and give us feedback, or is to give it to someone. If you know a university professor, or an academic, or someone in the industry of DeFi that would really be interested in this, or some institution, to help us get this out there so we can get this in the right hands and really get this conversation taken to the level that it deserves to be. And other than that, I just thank everyone for being a part of the community, for being supportive of one another and, what we're trying to do here. And for you as well, Superman, for having us on or myself on multiple times now and, really supporting what we're trying to do here. And so thank you all. And thank you, Superman.
So it's been fantastic, and CRYPTOGRFX, we have you on again after the launch of your collaborative staking and the other products that come down the line. It's a really true privilege, and you really are leading the pack, and it's exciting. You're addressing quite a few issues that I've been talking about. It's great to see. So appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
In CRYPTOGRFX, we trust is blissed out. Fun. Thanks for the stream, guys. I enjoyed, and stay tuned. Stay tuned indeed. Now, I'm going to just watch the rollover of the sacrifice. It's the last 8 minutes of day 59, so it's the end of the sacrifice, and it's kind of cool to have that on the live stream. So I'm going to jump into there. CRYPTOGRFX, if you want to stay around, you can. If you want to bounce out, feel free. But I'll pull that up now.
Great. I appreciate the invite. I have so much I have to do that I do have to get back to creating and building all the stuff in the background. But man, thank you again. It's been a real pleasure to hang with you, and I can't wait to come back.
Awesome stuff. Appreciate it, and catch you next time. Bye for now.
Thanks, everyone. See ya.
Yeah. All right. Let me just bring up the screen, and we're good to go. So let's see. Bam. All right. So let's check out where the PROVX sacrifice is sitting at the moment. Let me just get rid of that. And bam, I've got the full one there. And let's bring in the sacrifice right now. So we're getting right to the end, guys, right to the end of the sacrifice phase. We've got 6 minutes to go. So, we're on stream. We may as well cover it while we're here, right? May as well cover it while we're here. And if you guys are new to the YouTube, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. We're streaming on 3 different YouTube channels and also on X. So definitely smash the subscribe and follow button there. All right, so let's bring in the link here. And that is where we are. We've got 6 minutes to go. So we're in history making time here. Very, very, very cool. Keisha's got PROVX here, LFG for sure. And here we are. We're at the end, guys. So don't know if anyone else is streaming in the pulse stream community, but we are. And here we are, 5 minutes and 34 minutes to go. We do not have any change in the, really not much at all, change in the sacrifice. So this means that the Genesis wallets, the OA wallets, whatever you want to call it, is at 75% of the supply. So they came in the last 4 days and took up 75% of the supply, not somewhere between 80 and 95, which was definitely possible. Like we saw with Pulse and PulseX, it was somewhere in the 87% mark, kind of 84 to 87%, I think it was for both of those. But 75% seems to be where they have landed there and bringing in, $388 million or something like that into the program. So, $388 million and getting 75% of the total points there, 1.273 trillion. So that is where they said 75%. And so we also saw Richard Hart talking about, how they want to start up. Obviously, wants to start at zero. So there's, no tax issues there. And of course, then we potentially could see it trading early. It was kind of what he was hinting at. Maybe not mucking around. We also saw someone launched a PROVX token way back that's got pumped today. Obviously, usual thing. But yeah, extremely exciting times here, guys, as we count down the end of the sacrifice phase. So 4 minutes to go. So we might as well keep going in the show while we watch this countdown. We are on day 59, and the rate was $10.01, right? $10.01 for the 10,000 points. But we really haven't had, maybe very much at all sacrifice. Maybe a few little small guys apart from that. The big pool, of course, the retail pool is from the Buckamentals team, the PROVX pool. It's a retail sacrifice. They're the number one there. 1,226 accounts, and they're sitting with a 2.6679 multiplier. But really, the heavyweight now is the OA account or sacrifice account, Magic Cartwright account, Richard Hart account, whatever you guys want to call it. That is the 75% now. All right, so 3 minutes to go. We're counting it down. So that was a real fun interview with CRYPTOGRFX. Just keep pushing the frontier. I love that stuff, and we're looking forward to that. Yeah, it does very look like the baseline price ratios on that chart. So it's going to be exciting to see it perform in 2026. Of course, we're hyper bullish about the market this year. And maybe a little bit of volatility in the first 6 months with a few variables, but other than that, 2026 looking amazing for crypto. And so a good year for TORUS and Unity to fly and add in those new collaborative staking products and other things. So kind of cool. All right, 3 minutes to go, guys. Live here on a Crypto Night show. We're always, because we've been streaming, I mean, how many days have been streaming? I don't know. Been streaming on multiple crypto channels on Hex and Pulse Chain for how many days? I'm going to give an estimate. This is just an estimate. But, obviously had a few days off, but not many. So yeah, how many is that? I actually did division accidentally. We'll do that. Probably over 2,000 days, guys. Have been streaming on X and Pulse Chain. Over 2,000 days. That's pretty incredible. So it's been a privilege. If you guys, I love crypto, I love Hex and Pulse Chain. So it's been fun to do. But over 2,000 days, maybe 2,200, possibly even. Yeah. Pretty sure I'm just trying to remember what I was streaming in 2019, what time that was. I was definitely streaming in December 2019 because Hex had launched. But I had another channel before that called Cryptomania. But it got taken down by the old YouTube. The social media platforms are difficult to operate on. So 1 minute and 30 seconds to go. We're counting it down here. Historic, guys. ProvX here on the Crypto Night show. And I don't know if maybe has the Hex conference started yet, day 4 or something. I don't know. But it is 1 hour and 20 minutes to go. Sorry, 1 minute and 20 seconds to go. Not days or minutes. Not days or hours, I should say. Man, I'm really messing it up now. But 1 minute. We're going to have the countdown in a minute. All right. Keish says, wow, respect, keep going. I love the stream. I appreciate that, Keish. Thanks very much. Nicholas says, thank you for your amazing creation there to CRYPTOGRFX. Very, very cool. All right, so 50 seconds, guys. We're counting it down. The end of the ProvX sacrifice from Richard Hart. And 44 seconds to go. Ryan says, massive dump incoming. That'd be interesting, actually. Will we get a pump or a dump? I don't know. I feel like it's pretty bullish, Ryan. I don't really see any. What would be the rationale for dumping? That would be the question. I don't really see it. We haven't really had any sacrifice OAs over the last 24 hours. There's not much to much to think about there. If anything, people should be excited about maybe the ProvX token being dropped and launched sooner than later. We also got Liberty Swap, of course, launching this weekend as well with the stablecoin. That's massive. So we might briefly talk about that. All right, 60 seconds, guys. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We did it, guys. It's the end of the sacrifice. Bam. You guys saw it live on the screen. That is the results, guys. You guys saw it live on the screen. You saw the countdown disappear as well. That was kind of cool, wasn't it? That was kind of cool. So congratulations to Richard Hart and everybody that participated in the ProvX sacrifice. Pretty fun. I'm sure we'll get a post from Richard Hart. Yeah. Somebody thinks it will be launched on Pulse Chain Layer 2. Yeah, everyone's talking about the Layer 2, aren't they? Maybe. We'll see. I have no idea what will happen, chat. Just joshing there. Very cool. All right, so that's kind of cool. Let's go to Richard Hart, see whether he's got anything. Since we managed to cover it, it's kind of a bit of luck there, wasn't it? We're covering that right at the end. Let's see, Richard Hart, nothing yet. He had 6 hours ago. He had a post. Sacrifice phase is ending in about 6 hours. Well, it's ended. We saw it live here. It is documented on the Crypto Night show. We saw the timer disappear. Not that it matters in a few hours, but I have heard that trying to send a sacrifice address pops a warning in MetaMask, apparently. We also saw him teasing yesterday, I think it was, geniuses. How much liquidity do you wish ProvX had at launch, and what coins, what chain? Some people think, it's rhetoric, and it probably is mostly rhetoric. But of course, if he does see some good ideas, he'll probably think about that. I did particularly like the Brandon one. I kind of thought that was good. And we've got one here from Liberty Swap. So they had a few ideas there. And what is it? I think we should launch the coin on Ethereum mainnet because global. Yeah, so Ethereum there. bring attention to Pulse Chain. Now, the reason why they do that is because they try to arb it over to Pulse Chain, is my guess. Kind of a little bit of a here was kind of on Pulse Chain, which I tend to agree. And then, but having pools and base ETH in that, and so it's kind of pretty similar. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. Then we had Fast Abdul here. I'd launched on multiple ink farms. That was from Fast Abdul. So that was kind of cool too. Very not too dissimilar from Brandon's one there. So between the three of those ideas, probably not too bad. All right, so that was kind of that. But then, of course, we had this comment after it. Geniuses, what are your favorite ideas? Obviously, he wants it launching at 0 and trading at 0 for tax reasons there. So, yeah, that's kind of where we are at right now. Yeah, it's finished. So we covered it live. Hope you guys enjoyed that. There's no timer left. Sacrifice is done. The final results are 404 million USD, 1.273 trillion points, 15,675 sacrifices with 479 tokens on offer and 32 networks. We see that that is the final top 10 there. And of course, the recents there, we know that we had almost $400 million go through Ethereum, 3.7 million in Pulse Chain, 250,000 in Ripple, BSC 185,000, Base 141,000, and Bitcoin 121,000. Those are the ones over 100K. And we had the rest of these chains all filtering down almost to nothing, right? So yeah, a lot of chains there with nothing on them at the moment. So there we go. Those are the final results. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, guys. I enjoyed bringing it to you. And once again, special thanks to our special guest, CRYPTOGRFX, and a bit of bonus there with the final closing moments of the PROVX sacrifice. Now, keep a look out for the token in the airdrop, I guess. The allocation there. We'll find out exactly what happens. But it should be a lot of fun. Should be bullish for Pulse Chain generally, and maybe hyper bullish. We shall see. We've had a good start to the year. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe, like, share, hit the bell. Catch you on the next show. Yeah, all the very best. We'll get back to our standard coverage tomorrow on the Daily Show. All right, until then, take care. And you just never know what will happen in the charts. Could be a lot of fun, but so far, so good. All right, bye for now.